this edition of Nyberg Premier Puppeteers. I have Pam Arcero and I have Heather Ash. This is going to be awesome, and we have friends with us today. All right, both you gals, let's find out how you became puppeteers. How did this happen? UConn, right? UConn. And you became a puppeteer, why?
I always liked performing, and I just found that, and I like being an artist, a visual artist, and then I was taught by Kermit Love, the man who built Big Bird and the Snuffleupagus, and he said, why don't you come to New York and join us for puppeteering? And it was the perfect thing for me to do, absolutely.
And that was 35 years ago?
35 years ago.
You play the role of whom on Sesame Street?
I am Grangetta Grouch on Sesame Street, and I have done her for the past 35 years. And Sesame right now is going into season 50. We are starting to shoot season 50. Season 48 is on air. Season 49 premieres shortly in November, and it will be 50 years in
I feel so old all of a sudden.
2019.
Wow. I was 11.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, that's right. All right, so UConn, how did you become a puppeteer?
I think it started from kindergarten, because one of my teachers actually used to use hand puppets, and I was always just captivated by them, and of course watching Sesame Street and stuff. But really, it was as I got older, I thought I was going to go into music because that's what my family did, but I loved entertainment, I loved the arts, but I also wanted to really help people. But I was really shy, so I decided to try puppetry because I wasn't confined to what this looks like, because I could be this
could be anything
or
you want
this.
it to be.
Yeah, and that was basically.
And now you're an Emmy award-winning puppeteer.
Yeah, and so I just kept going, and it's mostly, you know, like Pammy doing the O'Neill. After I went to the University of Connecticut, went to the O'Neill with their puppetry conference.
You were our first
and that's what really stepped me into the field.
Which is a nice segue into the Eugene O'Neill puppetry situation there that you founded and you're part of, and tell us about it.
After Jim Henson passed away, Jane Henson
How long ago was that?
It's got to be 28 years ago. Jim Henson died. 28 years.
You both worked with him?
Yes.
Okay.
And Jane wanted to do something to remember him at the O'Neill. Now, the O'Neill has had puppetry as part of the curriculum since the 70s when it was founded. O'Neill is now 50 years old. And so they wanted to continue it, and they started the National Puppetry Conference at the O'Neill Theater Center, and with the intention of continuing the art of puppetry and continuing the connection with the O'Neill, educating the public, educating puppeteers on how to become better at what we do.
And what's interesting about the two of you is that it's not just Sesame Street. Puppets can transcend all kinds of stuff, which brings us to No Strings Production, which they deal with very serious topics for children. Tell me about No Strings.
So, No Strings is a not-for-profit organization that creates life-saving films for at-risk kids all over the world. And what we do is we create the content with partners who are on the field, or in the field, on the ground, working. Usually they're large NGOs. And we work with them to gather the curriculum of whatever issues. So say it was for Syria, we did trauma. And this was also a trauma film. For children in Haiti who had been affected by the earthquake.
We did the hurricane.
Lots of disasters,
topics.
HIV, nutrition,
and
malaria.
Where are all of these shot? We're going to see a film in just a second, but where do you shoot all of these?
Well, the first one was shot at the O'Neill.
Yes, that was for Afghanistan on Afghanistan. Because that was right after, we wanted to know what we could do. Right after 9/11 happened, we were all sitting around going, well, what do we do? What do we do? We have to help in some way. And what do you think? You think, what? We're not doctors, we're not scientists, what do we do? How can we help? And we decided to take what we do and try. And we approached Pamela at the O'Neill because we didn't have any funding for that. So we created a like 20-minute video on landmine awareness.
And that gets to the kids. So you're talking to them through puppets.
Right.
These puppets are all made in Connecticut for the most part.
Right.
How do you come up with the characters for these films?
Well, they develop a script, they develop the curriculum that they want to hit, whether it be HIV, whether it be a hurricane preparedness or tornadoes or whatever the disaster that's looming is. And then once we have a script to work from, we develop characters that we need. We usually try to incorporate an animal or two to make it, you know, it's puppets. We can have talking animals if we want to in a show. You know, this guy right here, who's our, he's our what would you call him?
He's the Magus, and he's basically sort of a mysterious guy who comes. He was a shadow master, actually, who comes into town, and through teaching with the shadow puppets, he helps the children understand the trauma that they've been through and have their own realizations in order to have healing.
These films go out worldwide. Have you been able to see a child watch this and see how they are receiving this information through the puppets? We
usually send two people from our organization out with the people who are going into the field. Our partner, our sister company, which is No Strings International, takes the films once they're completed, has them dubbed into whatever language is appropriate for where they're being shown, and they go out and they not only show the films, but then they work with facilitators and train them to use the films, which then those facilitators take them out into the towns or wherever, like be it on mobile cinema in Afghanistan.
Wow.
And they teach them to use them to educate not only the children, but the communities.
Exactly. It becomes a community event. The outreach is not just for kids, because adults don't come and learn from the same film, because this is information that's not generally available to a lot of these populations.
And we hear from the people who are going out in the field, we hear the stories of how it's affected the kids. There were two little girls who were in the earthquake in Haiti, and they hadn't spoken for 3 years, and then they saw this little girl, Antoinette, her little doll. Her brother brings her little doll to life under, you know, she's hiding under the bed and she's not eating, and he talks to her, and he breaks down when he's talking with her, and she comes out to help him, and she says, "I love you." And then these two little girls actually started talking after viewing the film. So we're hearing stories from actual stories of kids watching the films and people that come.
That's so interesting to me, because you think of puppets as all fun and games and children's shows and all of that, and look at the magnitude, look at the scope that No Strings is doing worldwide and in this country. So having said that, let's take a look at how this comes together with No Strings.
You still got. There's always one thing maybe you forgot. You can change things, you can make things better, 'cause the magic is in you. Earthquake! Take just what you need!
From who knows where.
What do we want? Justice! Who do we want it for? Girls! And what do we want? Justice for girls!
What about you? What have you learned?
You can change things, you can make things better, 'cause the
Look, so that's global, and we were just talking about water crises. Look at Michigan. So you're going to start creating these.
We would like to
In the
absolutely
US.
For United States needs.
Do you need funding? How does this come together?
Yes, we do need funding. Our website is nostringsproductions.org, and our founders, Kathy Mullen and Michael Frith, they're the ones, like Michael does all the designs that then I take and make into puppets with a team of people from all over, a lot of us from Connecticut, a lot of our performers are, and we've worked with UConn, and then Kathy does all the script writing, and we try to make the music appropriate for the culture. And so it takes a big team, probably around almost 100 people.
It's a labor of love,
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Absolutely.
When it comes down
And
to it.
it's working and making a difference in the world.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be a doctor, you know.
As
don't
you
have
found
to-
out.
you-
That's right.
There is magic. There is things that you can do that make a difference in the world, utilizing all that you know how to do and bring it forward. Just, you know, we're all so unique that we can do that.
Exactly.
35 years on Sesame Street. Is your life flashing before? I mean, that's a long time.
It's a long time. I mean, I didn't own a house when I started there. Sesame Street helped me buy a house and raise my kids and put them in college and everything down the line. It has been mostly my life. Puppets have been my life. Sesame Street has been a major part of my life, but not the whole thing. As you can see, we try to do the best we can. Puppets are my outreach. Puppets are what I do to affect change in the world.
And if it wasn't for Pam, I probably would not be doing what I'm doing today.
Is she a mentor for you?
Yeah, absolutely, and a really good friend.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. We're a small community.
Yeah, in fact, Kathy and Michael, who created No Strings, were on Sesame Street
Yep.
and worked with Jim Henson and the Muppets from before, too. So
Sesame Street.
it's
Michael started Sesame.
Yeah.
Kathy was a puppeteer.
Yeah.
Give me an idea of the magnitude of the state of Connecticut and puppetry. We're a pretty big deal.
We are.
Yeah.
And
We're
why?
a very big deal. I don't know if it's because the University of Connecticut started that program. Also 50 years ago, it's about 52 years
Wow.
old, that program now started with Frank Ballard. And so that was a natural draw. Our closeness to New York, where things were happening over the years. The Hensons had a house here. Their children grew up in Greenwich. I mean, they helped dig out the O'Neill to make a puppetry. Jim and Jane Henson shoveled out the barn so there was a
Wow.
theater.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it just, puppetry is in the bones of Roses. Margot and Rufus Rose, who did Howdy Doody, they were here from the 20s on.
Yeah.
Doing puppets here in Connecticut.
So if you want to be a puppeteer, this
It's
is
a good state
You
for
should come
puppetry.
to Connecticut.
You should come to Connecticut.
It's a puppetry state.
All right, so a lot of the puppets are made here. Do you guys make puppets too, or do you just talk them?
Both. Heather
Both.
is a fantastic
Wait.
builder.
Oh.
I do everything. Well,
Now, who-
she does everything.
Who do we have here?
My name is Roro, and I'm currently just finished my project, which is going to Paris, France, to teach children how to speak Mandarin Chinese, Anne.
Wow. Okay, someone's over here too, and who do we have here?
Me too, me too. My name is Little Ping.
He's Zhao King.
Zhao King,
I
Little Ping.
said that wrong because my
Xiao King. And I'm the baby of the group, and our videos are shot in English, and they'll be dubbed in Mandarin, and then it goes to Paris, France, to teach them Mandarin.
Do you get to
Crazy,
go too
right?
with them?
No,
You don't
we're
get to
here in
go.
Connecticut.
we're gonna stay in Connecticut and make puppets, Anne.
These,
Yeah.
these puppets are soft and amazing. And how long does it take to make?
So's Anne.
About, I would say 70 to 80. It's about 2 weeks.
2 weeks to make a puppet.
Yeah. If they have mechanisms or something, like some of them have mechs, the eyes will blink, or that's a little extra time
It's
and
really,
care.
They're really something.
And then, you know, everything is handmade, so the heads are either carved or flat patterned. The costumes have to be made, because you can't just go to the store and buy, like, I'd like spaghetti arm size, please. I mean,
Right.
So everything is hand done and thought about.
As we leave, folks, I want to know the best thing about doing what you do.
I get to be so many different people.
Yeah.
And I get to help so many different people, so many kids especially.
Yeah.
Same
I
thing.
second that. Yeah. And it's an amazing talent pool of people that we bring together.
We work with
together.
really good friends,
They are so
like
incredible.
Anne, really good friends.
Well, Heather and Pam, thank you so much for being on and talking to us about puppets and how they can help children around the world.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.